Would our members please find their seats and our guests find seats in the gallery? Welcome everyone to the recess meeting of the Will County Board for April 16th, 2015. We will call this meeting to order. If everyone would please stand and remain standing. County Board Member Ken Harris will lead us in the pledge this morning and then introduce our clergy.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Give me great pleasure to introduce Pastor John Bird from the Jubilee Baptist Church in Bolingbrook, Illinois. Pastor Berg has served Jubilee Baptist Church for the past 16 years. He graduated from William Tyndale College with a BA in Religious Education and earned a Master of Education from Denver Seminary. He has been married for 37 years and has 2 sons. One is a chemist and other is proudly served in the United States Navy. Jubilee Baptist Church is very active in reaching people through community service, which includes hosting annual Thanksgiving and Christmas basket giveaways, back-to-school fairs, packages for college students, bi-monthly worship at Meadowbrook Manor Nursing Home, service at Daybreak Shelter, providing Pregnancy Resource Center, AIDS Walk, and Feed My Starving Children program. So I introduce you, Pastor John Bird.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for another great day, and we thank you for the goodness and the ability to open our eyes and see it, and the reasonable portion of our health and strength. And certainly we respect that we live in a very seasonal climate, but we seem excited about the bad weather being behind us, and we ask that you do not surprise us with any more. And Father God, I pray that you would be the decision behind the decision of this board. Your word says that the government is part of your estate, so I pray that you guide their decisions, because what they decide, this county must do. And I also pray, Lord, for their families, that you keep them maintaining, and that any younger children and grandchildren would never break their hearts. Thank you so much for your goodness, a mindset that says one voice, one vote, or someone to represent my voice. In Jesus' name I pray and thank you. Amen.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Sure. Mayor? Here. Brooks? Here. Howard? Here. Ogala? Here. Singer? Moran? Here. Rice? Here. Harris? Here. Trainier? Here. Benefield? Here. Fritz? Here. Freitag? Here. Gould? Here. Balich? Here. Frizzalone? Winfrey? Here. Parker? Here. Staley Ferry? Babbage? Wilhelmy? Here. Hart? Here. Tumanello? Here. Weigel? Here. Collins? Here. Ferry? Here. And Mustis. Here. Thank you.
23 present, 3 absent.
23 present, a quorum is present. Entertain a motion to place on file the certificate of publication, moved by Mr. Babbage, second by Mr. Wilhelmy. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Sure. Mayor? Yes. Brooks? Yes. Howard? Yes. Ogala? Yes. Moran? Yes. Rice? Yes. Harris? Yes. Trainier? Yes. Benefield? Yes. Fritz? Yes. Freitag? Yes. Gould? Yes. Balich? Yes. Winfrey? Yes. Parker? Yes. Babbage? Yes. Wilhelmie. Hart. Tumanello. Weigel. Collins. Ferry. And Mustis. Thank you.
23 affirmative.
23 affirmative, motion is carried. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the Will County Board recess meeting of March 19, 2015. Moved by Ms. Winfrey, second by Mr. Babbage. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Ferry, second by Ms. Trenier. All in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary, motion has carried. Madam Clerk, would you please acknowledge our elected officials and the media that is present this morning?
Sure. Auditor Duffy Blackburn, Circuit Clerk Pam McGuire, County Clerk Nancy Schultz-Boots, County Executive Larry Walsh, State's Attorney James Glasgow, and our Superintendent of Schools Sean Walsh. Media, we have Farmers Weekly Review Nick Ryer, Southtown Susan Lafferty, Herald News Lauren Leon Cross, WJOL Monica DeSantis, and Times Weekly Karen Sorensen. Welcome.
Thank you. First on our agenda is honorary resolutions, proclamations. If County Board Member Reagan Freitag, please come forward and is recognizing the 30th anniversary of our Heritage Corridor Convention and Visitors Bureau. President Bob Navarro is here, a group with him.
Good morning.
Very nice today. Wow.
We are recognizing the 30th anniversary of the Heritage Corridor Convention and Visitors Bureau to acknowledge the achievement of an international accreditation in destination marketing. Whereas the Heritage Corridor Convention and Visitors Bureau represents Will County in tourism marketing, and whereas travel and tourism is a pillar of economic growth for Will County, representing $605 million in tourism expenditures, returning $28.5 million in tax revenues and $154 million in payroll, with over 6,200 jobs. And whereas the Heritage Corridor Convention and Visitors Bureau is the official highest governing entity authorized to provide destination marketing for the county, and CVB has been the county's State of Illinois Certified Convention Bureau since 1984, celebrating 30 years of service. And whereas the CVB has been awarded accreditation from the Destination Marketing Accreditation Program, an international program developed by Destination Marketing Association International. And whereas this accreditation demonstrates that the CVB achieved compliance in over 74 standards in areas such as governance, finance, management, human resource, marketing, sales, visitor services, and destination development. Whereas the Heritage Corridor Convention and Visitors Bureau is currently one of only 193 accredited destination marketing organizations worldwide. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Will County Board and the Will County Executive acknowledge the Heritage Corridor Convention and Visitors Bureau demonstration of 30 years of excellence. Be it further resolved that the Heritage Corridor Convention and Visitors Bureau be congratulated on achieving international tourism accreditation in destination marketing, dated this 16th day of April 2015. I so move.
Moved and second by Mr. Gould. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. Bob? Yeah, right.
Just want to thank the entire board for your continued support. You've read out some of our highlights, and Will County is definitely significant for travel and tourism expenditures, with over $605 million being spent here in the county, which is the fourth largest in the state of Illinois, and over 28 million of that is returned to state and local governments from those tourism expenditures. So thank you. We're a small but mighty office, and we appreciate your continued support.
Thank you.
Going to steal the mic again. I want to introduce some folks that are with me. Reagan is on our board representing your board. I have Lori Hanser here from the Bolingbrook Holiday Inn, and she is our vice chair, and I have Charity Jones, who's also with me as our secretary.
Thank you, Bob. All resolutions from the March 19th, 2015 County Board agenda have been signed by the county executive. Moving on to new business, our first committee is Land Use and Development Committee. Mr. Weigel, Chairman.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Tom.
First item is public hearing for land use cases. Make motion to open the public hearing.
Moved by Mr. Weigel, second by Ms. Parker. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Sure. Mayor? Brooks? Howard? Ogalla? Moran? Rice? Harris? Trainier? Benefield? Fritz? Freitag? Gould? Balich? Winfrey? Parker? Babich? Wilhelmie? Hart? Tumanello? Weigel?
Yes.
Collins? Ferry? And Mustis. Thank you.
23 affirmative.
23 affirmative. We are in public hearing. Please be advised, absolutely no new evidence or information will be allowed once this land use public hearing is closed. We have 3 cases this morning. Case 6213-S, case 6223-SV2, and case number 6228-M. Is there anyone here to speak on any cases? Anyone in the public wishing to speak on any of the zoning cases? Yes, ma'am. Okay, wish to stand up? Okay. Maureen, are you Maureen? Oh, okay, Maureen, okay. Please come on down, please.
Morning.
Maureen, state your name and for the clerk, please.
My name is Maureen Harton, Harton. I'm an attorney, in-house counsel for Providence Catholic High School, located at 1800 West Lincoln Highway, New Lenox, Illinois. The reason I'm here is to voice our opposition to the application for a special use permit filed by NR1 Transport. I have prepared a memorandum of law in opposition, which I believe is part of your packet. I have appeared in front of numerous boards and commissions on this matter, starting with the Village of New Lenox, and ultimately I am here. These folks want to build a truck terminal right across the street from our school. It's our position, as set forth in the memorandum of law, that the granting of a special use permit to NR1 Transport to operate a truck terminal at this location would violate subsections 1, 2, and 5 of the applicable Will County ordinance. The safety of our students, parents, employees, fans, students and parents from other schools, and anyone else traveling to our school is our paramount concern. Everyone knows how horrible this intersection of Route 30 and Gauger Road is. I don't think I need to belabor that point. This intersection is the primary juncture for anyone traveling to our school from the north, south, or west. We have 3 campuses in the area, 75 acres of land. Our main campus is directly south of the subject property on Route 30. Our west campus is kitty corner from the subject property at the intersection of 30 and Gauger. And our south campus is just a little bit further south on Gauger Road at Farrow Drive. The west and south campuses are used primarily for athletic purposes. It's our position that a special use permit will be injurious to the use and enjoyment of our property for uses already permitted. Providence Catholic High School has been at that location for 52 years. We serve the entire community, not just our own families. We host academic, athletic, religious, artistic, musical, and other community events on our campuses throughout the year, not just Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., which are the school hours. There's something going on at our campus virtually every day of the year. For all those reasons, as well as the reasons expressed in my memorandum of law, I am respectfully requesting that the application for a special use permit be denied. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Robin Ellis, okay. State your name for the clerk, please.
Hi, my name's Robin Ellis. I'm the Assistant Village Administrator for the Village of New Lenox. Our village board voted unanimously to ask you to deny this request. At the time it was presented to us, a lot of the traffic issues were associated with Route 30 and Gauger Road. Now that this request has changed and all the traffic would be funneled north, we have significant concerns about the capacity of the intersection at Route 6 and Gauger Road to be able to handle truck traffic. Even with the proposed intermediate improvements that the applicant is suggesting that they would make, we do not believe that that would adequately address safety at that intersection. All of the county board members should have received a letter from Silver Cross Hospital expressing their concerns with public safety vehicles and ambulances being able to get through because Route 6 is not wide enough to accommodate a truck pulling over to accommodate an ambulance trying to get through. Understanding that the current zoning of the site is industrial, if that request were made today, that would not be the appropriate zoning classification for this site. And the village would suggest that anything the county can do to try to rezone that to a more appropriate zoning district would be an action we would like to see. But granting the special use would just extend an inappropriate land use at this location. The village's plan commission did not recommend approval. The village board voted unanimously, as did both the county planning and zoning commission and the county land use committee. So I urge you to follow in the footsteps of those boards prior to you and to vote to deny this request today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ostenberger?
Good morning. My name is Tom Osterberger. I'm one of the attorneys for the petitioner. And I just wanted to respond to the attorney for Providence and to Ms. Ellis's comments. Normally when we go in and we petition for a special use for trucking, we have a difficult situation. We're coming out of the ground. We're looking for a special use to put trucks where they weren't before. This is currently zoned I-2. Approximately 56,000 square feet of building that is designed to be an I-2 use, multiple tenants on the property, all types of trucks and vehicles. We saw 40 years of Lambrick being there. The property is approximately 14 acres. What we presented at planning and zoning and what we presented at land use was expert testimony to show that the special use conditions imposed on this in the way of limitation of trucks And in the road barriers is going to actually make the present use safer. It's going to make it less intense. So while I understand the gut reaction to we don't want trucks, when you review those records, you're going to see that the limitations imposed in this user here for a truck terminal is really improving it. Okay? It's going to make it safer. I would urge you to look at this and actually vote in favor. I know it's a difficult decision, but when you look at the facts, the attorney for Providence and New Lenox are going to realize that the current I2 use is more intensive. So we would ask you to vote in favor. Thank you.
We have a speaker, Mr. Paul Shadow.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Paul Shadle with the law firm of DLA Piper, representing the agent for the petitioner for matter 6223 SV2. I just wanted to speak very briefly. This is a barge loading facility that was approved unanimously at both the P&Z Commission and your board's Land Use and Development Committee, but I just wanted to note one item. We've worked for quite some time with the Village of Romeoville and the City of Lockport on this project, and wanted to just respectfully request that, I understand there's been some discussion of a continuance. We're under some pressure given desire to get construction started during this construction season. I know it's only April, but in the construction world, that's kind of late. So I just wanted to respectfully request that this board move this matter forward so that we can get going with our permitting. And I have with me Dave Nelson, who could answer questions if you have any, Mr. Chairman.
Not for me. Mr. Weigel.
We have correspondence from the city of Crest Hill that they would like to have input on this, and they don't have a meeting before our meeting. Did you have any input from the city of Crest Hill?
We had no, we went in very openly, had long discussions with both Romeoville and Lockport, had no contact with us from Crest Hill at any
You're
time.
adjacent to the city of Lockport, aren't you?
We are, and we're in an area that's subject to a boundary agreement between Lockport and Romeoville.
Crest Hill is not party to that agreement?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Nelson, would you like to say anything?
Nothing further to add other than the timing is of the essence.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions? Thank you, sirs. Thank you. We have a gentleman by the name of Wesley Bergen. Wesley Bergen, would you like to speak? No, okay, not necessary. All right. Anyone from the public wishes to speak on any of our zoning? Tom Weigel.
I have a letter from Lauren Staley Ferry, a county board member from District 9. She couldn't be here today. I'll read the letter. It says, to my fellow county board members, I cannot attend today's meeting. I am writing to voice my opposition to the truck terminal project. The proposed truck terminal is on property in District 9. The residents of my district are against this project, as I have received several emails asking us to vote no. Providence High School and its community are opposed, as well as Silver Cross Hospital. The primary issue is safety. Even with all of the conditions the company says it is willing to comply with, I am certain of how they will ensure they will be enforced. This project has failed to pass all committees it has come before. Lastly, there will actually won't be any creation of permanent jobs, as they are closing an old truck terminal in another district to open this one. I have attended the meetings in the Village of New Lenox, as well as spoken with the developer in depth on this project to ensure that I've heard all sides. I am asking that you vote no on this project, since most of the important issues are safety for the residents, the kids attending Providence, emergency vehicles, and all roads that are not prepared to handle this type of traffic. Thank you for consideration on this matter. Best regards, Lauren Staley Ferry.
Thank you, Tom. Anyone else from the general public wishes to speak on any of these zoning cases? Last call for Armella, you wish to speak on a zoning case?
I'm sorry, Mr. Walsh, I can't hear too well.
Are you wish,
What I say, I heard.
is it about these zoning cases? We're only on the zoning cases now, Armella.
Well, it's, yes, it probably pertains to all the cases. May I?
You may, if you're gonna talk about the zoning cases that we're discussing right now.
Well, human beings deal with those cases.
I understand that, Armella, if you wanna come down and talk about these 3 zoning cases right now that we're talking about, but Mr. Ostenberger and the other ones talk about, then you can come down. But if you have a general comment that you just want to make, then this is not the time. Your time will be later in the meeting. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Weigel?
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Moved by Mr. Weigel, seconded by Mr. Mayor. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Sure, Mayor? Yes. Brooks? Yes. Howard? Yes. Ogala? Yes. Moran? Yes. Rice? Yes. Harris? Yes. Trainier? Yes. Benefield? Yes. Fritz? Yes. Freitag? Yes. Gould? Yes. Balich? Yes. Winfrey? Yes. Parker? Yes. Babbage? Yes. Wilhelmie? Yes. Hart? Yes. Tumanello? Yes. Weigel?
Yes.
Collins? Yes. Ferry? Yes. And Mustis? Yes. Thank you.
23 affirmative.
23 affirmative, the public hearing has been closed. Mr. Weigel, please continue.
Our first case is 6213-S. This is a request for a special use terminal, for a truck terminal in New Lenox Township at Gauger Road and Route 30 in New Lenox with 16 conditions. We've had correspondence from New Lenox, Providence, Silver Cross objecting to this, and also it was denied by the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Land Use Committee. However, I'll make a recommendation, I'll make a motion for approval, but I'll be voting no. I'll make that motion to approve.
Moved by Mr. Weigel, second by Mr. Mayor. Discussion, Mr. Mayor.
This has been an interesting case here, where we've had an opportunity to review a lot of different attributes of this property. And one of the things that I think it's telling me is that we have a lot of property here in Will County that probably needs to be rezoned, this being one of them. When you take a look at the land in the area, how we've grown in so many different ways, you know, we talked about at our caucus earlier about having our land use committee really start to take a look at the whole map of Will County and find out which areas need to be rezoned so that it's more appropriate for the current use. And in this particular case, I'm going to be voting no because this property is not ready. When you go in and make a right out of there and you head north towards 6, Gauger's fine. I could get an ambulance by there. There's some issues at 30. It's really close to the high school. All those are valid. As soon as I make, I had a big truck, making a right on 6 would be extremely difficult until they improve that. And then once you get on 6, there's no way two semis coming at each other could be far enough apart to get an ambulance through the middle there. And so there's some real main issues here that I think that we need to take a look, not at this property, but all of our properties around Will County to see if there's any other rezoning that we need to do before we have cases like this come before us.
Thank you. Any other comments? Ms. Parker?
Mr. County Executive, I too am in opposition of this case. I've been following the case. It's been denied at all 4 previous zoning committee meetings. What it boils down to is a issue of safety. We've heard from Providence and we've heard from Silver Cross with the letter. There's the railroad tracks, the increased volume of trucking. As Chuck stated, the Route 6 Gauger Road turn is an issue. Route 6 altogether with the lack of shoulder, people pulling over. So I'm in disagreement, and I hope people consider that before they make the vote.
Thank you. Mr. Brooks?
Good morning, Mr. Executive.
Good morning.
I think, as you know, we've heard pros and cons from both sides of this project, and I just would respectfully ask when it comes to the vote if we do a roll call, because I do recognize there are mixed emotions here on this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Mr. Tumanello.
Thank you, Mr. Executive. As a representative of that area for over 12 years in my prior capacity, that area, the Gauger Road area, the Route 6, Route 30, with the trains, has always been an issue with regard to traffic. We're not going to beat a dead horse today talking about it, but when you sit here and you weigh out jobs, the residents, not in my backyard individuals, villages, and they all come together, at the end of the day, there's always something that really tips the scale, and that's the public safety. It's not the public safety with the residents yelling, oh, it's a public safety issue, or just a couple groups of people that may live there. When you have whole entities like the hospital, like an entire village, time and time again asking us to vote no for a public safety issue, I think there's only one vote in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any, Mr. Babbage.
I just want to make a comment, Mr. Chairman. 10, 15 years ago, the county welcomed trucking terminals, intermodals with open arms. Now it seems like we're closing the doors on these trucking companies coming into town. I believe there's another one also going to be on Route 6 at the old EJ&E yards. I have concern for safety, but Brown and Lambert did operate, I don't know, 40, 45 years in that position, that place, which is one of the largest trucking companies in the country. And I have not recalling serious accidents or anything to pertain to Brown and Lambert causing problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Other? Mr. Weigel.
About a mile down the road on Gauger Road is Cherry Hill Business Park. There's a lot of open land there. If they wanted to open a truck terminal, I'm sure they would be willing to accept them, and it wouldn't involve the traffic a congestion that is present because of the railroad tracks at Route 30.
Thank you.
On that property, Mr. Weigel.
It's an industrial park.
It's in the industrial park now. And the cost with I don't know the cost that it'd have to work out, but right now, I don't know if they do that.
Any other comments? Mr. Don called question. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mayor? No. Brooks?
Yes.
Howard? No. Ogala?
No.
Moran?
No.
We're voting on the case.
We're voting on the resolution.
Yes.
And the resolution is to approve. The resolution is to approve.
He said yes. Rice?
Yes.
Harris?
No.
Trainier?
No.
Benefield?
No.
Fritz?
No.
Freitag? Gould?
No.
Balich?
No.
Winfrey?
Yes.
Parker?
No.
Babbage?
Yes.
Wilhelmie?
Yes.
Hart?
No.
Tumanello?
No.
Weigel?
No.
Collins?
No.
Ferry?
No.
And Mustis.
Six affirmative, 16 negative, 1 abstention.
6 affirmative, 16 negative. The motion has been defeated. Continue, Mr. Weigel.
The next case, 6223-SV2, is a special use permit for manufacturing and industrial located in Lockport Township. This is a terminal. It's an old grain terminal along the I&M Canal. It's near the 9th Street Bridge in Lockport. We received a letter from Crest Hill saying we should delay this. I see the petitioner would like us to move forward, so I'm going to ask for maybe an opinion. I believe we should move forward, so I'd make a motion to approve this.
Motion to approve?
Yes.
Moved by Mr. Weigel, second by Judy Ogala. Any questions? Mr. Howard?
Actually, if we could have the owner, maybe they can make a gentleman's agreement to actually talk to Crest Hill about these issues. What's that?
Yep.
No, I know it's not in Crest Hill, but I mean, in
They
you know.
definitely, they indicate they definitely will get together with Crest Hill.
All right, good. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any other comment? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mayor? Yes. Brooks? Yes. Howard? Yes. Ogala?
Yes.
Moran? Yes. Rice? Yes. Harris? Yes. Trainier? Benefield?
Yes.
Fritz? Freitag?
Yes.
Gould?
Yes.
Balich?
Yes.
Winfrey?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Babbage?
Yes.
Wilhelmie? Hart? Tomanello?
Yes.
Weigel?
Yes.
Collins?
Yes.
Ferry?
Yes.
And Mustis.
Yes.
Thank you.
22 affirmative, 0 negative, 1 abstention.
22 affirmative, motion is carried. Mr. Weigel.
Our next case, 6228M, is a zoning map amendment from R2 to C3 in Crete Township on Western Avenue. This is to allow for expansion of a parking lot for a, I believe it's a daycare facility there. Committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Weigel, second by Ms. Ogala. Any questions? Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Mayor, second by Ms. Rice. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried. Would you like to vote aye?
Yes.
Vote aye for Mrs. Fritz. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Weigel.
Our next meeting is May 12th at 10 a.m. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Weigel. Moving on to Finance Committee. Mr. Benefield will be speaking this morning, Vice Chairman of the Finance Committee.
Good morning, Mr. Executive.
Good morning.
I'd like to read the monthly financial reports to be placed on file. Report from the Illinois Department of Revenue showing sales tax remitted to Will County for the month of January 2015 to be $1,781,984.01. The RTA tax received is $2,150,450.97, totaling $3,932,434.98. The Will County Monthly Treasurer Report from Will County Treasurer Steve Weber dated February 28, 2015, and the Will County Quarterly Report dated 12/1/2014 through 2/28/2015. So moved.
Moved by Mr. Benefield, second by Ms. Ogala. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary, motion has carried.
Continuing, Resolution 1584, appropriating funds, grant funds in the coroner's budget. So moved.
Moved by Mr. Benefield, second by Mr. Gould. Any questions? Previous roll by Ms. Fritzen, second by Ms. Freitag. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary, motion has carried.
1585, appropriating local donation into sheriff's budget for canine purchases, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Benefield, second by Ms. Trainier. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Moran, second by Mr. Howard. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary, motion has carried.
And 1586, transferring funds within the Children's Advocacy Center budget, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Benefield. You seconded it before he gets the motion made? Mr. Benefield moves, seconded by Mr. Mayor. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Wilhelmie, second by Mr. Rice. All in favor signify by saying, Ms. Rice. All signify by saying aye. Contrary, motion is carried. Sorry, Beth. Yeah. You got me all messed up.
Thank you, Mr. Executive. Our next Finance Committee meeting is May 5th, 2015, at 10 a.m.
Thank you, Darren. Moving on, Public Works Transportation Committee, Mr. Gould, Chairman.
Morning, Mr. Executive.
Good morning, Don.
Fellow board members. I would like to place on file a public notice for the renewal of a federally enforceable state operating permit for Riverton Cabinet Company in New Lenox.
Moved by Mr. Gould, second by Ms. Parker. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Babbage and second by Mr. Wilhelmie. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried.
Resolution 1587, confirming an award of contract to PT Farrow Construction Company, led on March 25th, 2015, for Drexler Road, North Peatone Road, County Board District 1. And I move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Gould, second by Ms. Ogala. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Howard, second by Ms. Trenier. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried.
Resolution 1588, State of Illinois Resolution for improvements by the county under the Illinois Highway Code, Resolution for improvements by county under the Illinois Highway Code for Drexler Road, North Peatone Road, County Board District 1, using MFT funds, and I move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Gould, second by Mr. Howard. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Harris, second by Ms. Winfrey. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried.
Resolution 1589, confirming an award of contract to Northern Contracting Incorporated, led on March 25th, 2015, countywide guardrail, all county board districts, and I move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Gould, second by Ms. Hart. Any question? Previous roll by Mr. Rainier, second by Mr. Ferry. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried.
Resolution 1590, State of Illinois Resolution for improvements by the county under the Illinois Highway Code, Resolution for improvement by county under the Illinois Highway Code for countywide guardrail, all county board districts, using MFT funds, and I move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Gould, second by Mr. Ballage. Any questions? Previous roll by Ms. Hart, second by Ms. Rice. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried.
Resolution 1591, confirming an award of contract to D Construction Incorporated, led on March 25th, 2015, Crete Road District, Clemmy Road over Clemmy Creek, County Board District 1. I move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Gould, second by Ms. Ogala. Any questions? Previous roll by Ms. Fritz, second by Mr. Ballage. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried.
1592, confirming an award of contract to Prairie Materials, led on March 25th, 2015, Wilton Road District, County Board District 6. I move for approval.
By Mr. Gould, second by Ms. Freitag. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Ferry, second by Mr. Moran. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried.
1593, a resolution supplemental for improvements by the county under the Illinois Highway Code, County Board District 1. I move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Gould, second by Mr. Howard. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Moran, second by Mr. Wilhelmie. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried.
1594, authorizing the Will County State's Attorney to proceed with condemnation cases regarding the county's improvements on Briggs Street from Mills Road to US Route 52, County Board District 8. I move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Gould, second by Ms. Winfrey. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Brooks, second by Mr. Moran. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried.
1595, authorizing approval of professional services agreement for additional design engineering services, Phase 2 for South Briggs Street from Mills Road to US Route 52 with Hutchison Engineering, County Board District 8. I move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Gould, second by Ms. Winfrey. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Babbage, second by Mr. Ferry. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried.
1596, a resolution for additional design engineering services by the county under the Illinois Highway Code for South Briggs Street from Mills Road to Route 52 with Hutchison Engineering, County Board District 8, using county's MFT funds, and I move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Gould, second by Ms. Winfrey. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Howard, second by Ms. Parker. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried.
1597, authorizing intergovernmental agreement for engineering services and construction of railroad quiet zones on the Union Pacific Railroad intersections with Exchange Street and Crete-Monee Road in the County of Will, County Board District 1, and I move for approval.
By Mr. Gould, second by Ms. Ogala. Questions? Mr. Howard?
Yeah, this particular project will make a good difference, or it'll improve people's lives over there in Eastern Will County. And out there, it's pretty clear to see, because there's not a lot of density of population, but these towns were built along the railroads. And basically, they were built there, a lot of them were built so the steam engines could actually stop and take on water, that type of thing like that. Well, what has happened is with the new trains and the size of the trains and the horns, I mean, it's almost impossible if you're within 5 or 10 blocks of these areas downtown to actually hold a conversation. I mean, that's how loud the horns are. So when the county gets involved in this, it actually does help improve the quality of life out there, and I commend the county for actually moving forward on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Any other comments? Any other comments?
I moved for approval.
Yeah, we've got moving second by Ms. Ogala, I believe. Previous roll by Ms. Winfrey, second by Mr. Ferry. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried.
1598, granting ingress and egress in a variance for a vacant lot on Center Road, County Board District 2. I move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Gould, second by Mr. Benefield. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Tumanella, second by Ms. Fritz. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried.
1599, an ordinance authorizing approval of the establishment of an altered speed zone, Zone 521, Manhattan Road District, County Board District 2, and I move for approval.
By Mr. Gould, second by Mr. Tumanello. Any questions? Previous roll by Ms. Parker, second by Ms. Rice. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried.
Thank you, Mr. Executive.
Thank you,
Concludes
John.
my report.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Judicial Committee, Mr. Benefield.
Mr. Executive.
Good morning, Darren.
We had, there was nothing to vote on with our committee over this month, but the Chief Judge did come before us, and I just asked that I communicate to the board that it's his desire to reestablish a 1-to-1 ratio with the bailiffs and the judges at the courthouse. He currently has 36 judges and 34 bailiffs. So he will be bringing on 2 new bailiffs so that he can get that 1-to-1 ratio reestablished. There was no votes taken. It's in his budget, but he just asked if I would just mention that and inform the board at the committee, or at the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Darren. Any questions for Mr. Benefield?
Our next Judicial Committee meeting is scheduled for May 5th, 2015 at 9 a.m. Thank you again, Mr. Executive.
Thank you, Darren. Next, we move on, Public Health and Safety Committee, Ms. Ogala, Chairperson.
Good morning, County Executive, members of the board.
Good morning, Judy.
First, before I begin, I'd like to say that as Chair of Public Health and Safety, I'm trying to get out to all the things that directly are related to that. So I did get to go out to the Hero and Helps Summit that they had last Friday in Romeoville. And, you know, the nice thing with it, it talked about all the different things we're doing in Will County and that other counties are coming and looking to us for what we're doing with the heroin epidemic. That's really great. And there was a huge area to browse many different tables where people got to look for information, for help, and for personal help, family help, and also for other issues besides just drugs, heroin. And I want to say that we're lucky to have our State's Attorney James Glasgow heading that up, along with our County Executive Larry Walsh. They both gave great presentations, and I think if you didn't get to make it, come next year to hear what they have to say, and you guys will learn a lot, because I know I did, and I passed a lot of that information on to members of my community already who were looking for it. So I just wanted to say thank you for putting that on, as well as Anastasia back there. She did a great job organizing, so thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
I have one resolution today that is 15-100, and this resolution is opposing the construction of a nuclear waste repository in the Great Lakes Basin. With this resolution, what happens is we join like over 146 different groups that have already done this to protect the Great Lakes. So I'd like to make a motion to pass this.
Moved, second by Ms. Trenier. Any discussion? Any discussion? Previous roll by Ms. Collins, second by Ms. Hart. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried.
And that concludes my reports for today, and my next Public Health and Safety Committee meeting will be held May 7th at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Next, we move on to the Legislative Policy Committee. Ms. Hart, chairperson.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Thank you.
Suzanne.
We have one resolution, which is 15-101, adopting the utility cost reduction policy. And looking forward, I so move.
Moved by Ms. Hart, second by Ms. Winfrey. Any discussion? Any discussion? Previous roll by Mr. Moran, second by Mr. Wilhelmi. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary, motion has carried.
We had in our last meeting, a lot of you know that we are going down to Washington, D.C. next week, a few of us, along with the Forest Preserve, to talk with our congressmen and senators about the initiatives and our agenda of what we're looking for, as well with some various agencies. So we're looking forward to this, and we had a lot of positive feedback on our last visit. We're hoping we're going to have the same response. Our next Legislative and Policy Committee meeting is scheduled for May 12th at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Next up is our Capital Improvements Committee. Ms. Freitag, chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Executive. Good morning, County Board members. I don't have any resolutions to pass today, but I do want to thank everyone that attended the joint Capital and Finance Committee this past month. I really think we're moving ahead. The momentum is great, and I think that we're all on the same page, both caucuses as well as moving forward with the new mayor-elect, Bob Odekirk, in getting some of these projects, especially the new courthouse. He has already reached out to me, and hopefully we can sit down with them to, again, keep this momentum going. Thank you. Our next meeting is May 5th at 11 a.m. Hopefully you can all make that. Thank you.
Thank you, Reagan. Moving on, next is the Executive Committee. Mr. Mustis, chairperson, or chairman.
Good morning, Mr. Executive, County Board members. Our first issue today is 15102 ordinance prohibiting video gambling in unincorporated Will County. I'm gonna move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Mr. Mayor.
Now, before we start, Mr. Executive, if I may, my understanding is there's a number of folks who would like to speak to this issue who may not have signed up in the appropriate time. I do think if people have taken the time out of their busy days to come down here to speak, we should probably allow them to speak. So I'm going to make a motion to suspend the rules to allow any additional speakers.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Ms. Hart. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. Let me start with the ones that have signed up. The very first one is Darren Pierce, I think. Darren, would you like to speak? Yes, sir. Please come forward.
Hello? Oh, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to first start off. Oh, my name is Darren Pierce. I live in. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I'd first like to say that I'd like to publicly acknowledge board member Mr. Mustis and his support. He is my board member. I'd also like to acknowledge Linda Arnold and Sandra Rennie They started this off on a grassroots level to get this going. The main issue here, I understand this is a very hot issue, very hot potato type of issue. A lot of people don't, they don't want to touch it. It's, they're either for or against it, but there's a lot of, converging forces here. First of all, I'd like to say this is in the protection of children. And I think, what message are we trying to send to children and young adults that gambling is okay, video gambling? I've gotten support from my pastor, Father Fino of St. Stephen's in Tinley Park, and I've also gotten support from Father Talca at St. Julie's, also in Tinley Park, where I live. And they're against it. They publicly say that they're against it. I think on some level they can understand in establishments where you have to be 21. They still don't agree with it, but the rationale behind it, they understand that. In this situation, obviously, you're exposing children to a 24-hour gambling situation. And I just think that that sends the wrong message. I also think that, in the gaming law, there should have been some kind of study to look at this after, it's been going on for a couple years almost that they've had the gambling machines in place. And I just think from a moral and spiritual issue, we have to really look inside of ourselves and say what we want to be. The future of Harlem Avenue, the future of Will County, and I think, you're exposing these kids to these machines near a high school. The proximity of I-80. Unfortunately, we had the Lane Bryant murders, I should say. And I believe that the proximity to I-80 really sets the stage for, crime, either be it on Harlem Avenue, near and around this gas station where I do live. It's about two and a half blocks from my house. So, I have to say, sometimes where there's a will, there's a way. And I know sometimes people that have addiction problems, they do things that in their right mind and sound and everything they wouldn't do normally. But an addiction can pull people into situations and do possibly evil things. And I don't want one of those evil things to be my children, I want to know that they can go up to a store and it can be safe. It's going to be a 24-hour thing. And I just think that's scary in itself when you put these two things together. It's a grenade. Give me a second here. Couple more points I have. I feel that this just doesn't affect Will County and unincorporated Will County, specifically what this is about. I think it affects, Cook County, DuPage County, Will County all together. Some of these areas, those borders converge. Where I live in Matson, I believe I've been told that they will allow these video gambling machines, but they don't allow them in a gas station. So there again, I just like to say this to me it's about safety and the safety of children and creating, a community that we want to create in the future of Will County. I think that Harlem Avenue is a major artery, and the planning and the execution in the future and the vision, really the vision that we want to have for that area. I know it seems like right now you go, oh wow, there's nothing over there. Unincorporated Will County just includes a bunch of farmland, but it's a growing, unfortunately with the economy slowing it down, but it is growing, eventually it will. And I just want to see safety for children. That's number one, and I don't want to see people and children think that gambling is okay and create future addiction problems. That's all I have. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Next speaker, excuse me, Anita Bedell. The next speaker after her is Linda Arnold, I think it is. Arnold.
Thank you. I'm Anita Bedell, the Executive Director of Illinois Church Action on Alcohol and Addiction Problems in Springfield. And our organization has lobbied against the video gambling. Video gambling came into Illinois in 2009. It was introduced and passed in both the House and the Senate in 24 hours. There were a lot of flaws, there were a lot of mistakes in the bills, and I just did a quick check, and so far, there are around 122 machines in unincorporated Will County, and area residents have lost almost $5.2 million on those machines. And the county only gets 5%, which is just a pittance of the amount. But if you look at some of the other communities that are within the county, that's another $45.6 million that has been lost. And there's almost 1,000 machines. This is on top of the casinos that are already here. So there are more than enough opportunities for people to gamble and lose. Some of the other communities in Illinois that have video gambling are now trying to cut back. I work in Springfield. They passed an ordinance about 2 years ago to have 60% of the money that comes from establishments should be from food and beverage sales, because they had too many video gambling parlors coming in. They would get a liquor license. They might have a little refrigerator with bottles of beer and wine, but their main focus is on gambling. And so the city wanted to put a stop to it, so now they're going to the county. And this is what could happen to Will County. They might be cut out in some of the cities, but then they'll come to the county to try to get in. We recently had an auto body shop within the county that wanted to have video gambling machines. And they stopped, have their auto sales stopped at 5 o'clock, so then after that they wanted to become a bar and a gambling parlor. So they already have laundromats, they have all kind of places that are being established just so they can have the gambling machines. They're not well staffed. There are compliance checks that are being failed now by gas stations, by video gambling parlors, and bars that have video gambling because they don't have enough staff. They're not trained. They're letting underage in to gamble and to drink. So this is a concern. Residents have to lose $1 million for a municipality to get $50,000. That's a lot of money. So it doesn't, it's not a big source of income, but it could cause a lot of problems. Video gambling impacts the entire community, whether you gamble or not. Other businesses will lose money because of the video gambling. Last year, or in 2003 rather, after the local elections, many municipalities overturned their bans on gambling. I know that the Will County never took a vote, but they overturned their ban, saying if you decide that there are problems or you don't like it, you can always opt out. So I would commend Will County for being the first to opt out. You've made provisions so that those who already have video gambling machines can keep them, but you just would stop any furthermore encroachment on your county, and I would commend you for that and ask that you would vote that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is Linda Arnold, is that correct? Yeah. After Linda is Gary Rennie and Sandra Rennie, Sandun. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning, County Executive and Will County Board members. Thank you for allowing me to speak before you in regards to the future of video gambling in unincorporated Will County. I respectfully request that the board members prohibit video gambling in unincorporated Will County at this time. Please note that allowing video gambling to take place in the unintended places is a dangerous situation if it's allowed to continue. The morals, safety, health, and enjoyment of our properties will be greatly affected. I'd like to point out a loophole that has been greatly ignored, but now is beginning to become abused. Unincorporated Will County does not require a gas station to have a special use permit. Municipalities within Will County do, such as Frankfort, Mokina, New Lenox. A special use permit is required for gas stations to be built. A drinking establishment is required to have a special use permit for a liquor license. Then the establishment appears before the liquor board, and then after that time, then they appear before the Illinois Gaming Board. But the loophole with a gas station not needing a special use permit, they go directly to the Illinois Gaming Board for a license. A liquor license is not required. They are not required to speak before the Will County Board. They are granted because the building ordinances in unincorporated Will County do not require a special use permit. A special use permit requires the board members to consider the morals, safety, health, and enjoyment of our properties. I'm asking you to please protect your constituents. These items must be considered due to the fact of this loophole starting to become abused. We respectfully request that rules and regulations be written in a specific way to protect the children, teens, and community of unincorporated Will County. The board, the Illinois Gaming Board, has rules to protect the casinos and the docked casinos. 1,000 feet, a terminal operator cannot be within 1,000 feet. 100 feet for a school or place of worship. I have yet to find any rules pertaining to video gambling in relation to a house where children, teens, and families live, the children of your county. Right outside, bedroom windows operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. At least a drinking establishment has operating hours. If a drinking establishment loses or has their liquor license suspended, the video gambling is suspended due to the fact that a liquor license is not connected in a liquor or in a gas station. Why would they be suspended? They're not. They're fined. They're minimum fines if they're found allowing a minor to gamble, but they must admit that they knew that they were gambling. Are business owners taking advantage of the lenient rules and regulations? Please take into account what has been happening. Does the gas station attendant have the training to properly protect the area? Do they know what to do if a gambling patron snaps? Is there security at a convenience store like the way a state agent is at a casino? The counties work very hard to bring residents in. The high schools are one reason on why property owners or families looking to buy move into an area. Lincoln Way North is in District 2, which is a huge unincorporated area. Excellent school. Has been there less than 6 years, has made it to the top of the list for high schools in such a short time. I personally know, because I have 3 children currently at Lincoln Way North, a freshman daughter and twin boys that are seniors graduating. They both received 35s on their ACT, and one is your valedictorian and the other is third in his class. If this were about me, I would have moved. This is not about me. I would like to apologize to the business owners, the terminal operators, and the gamblers. I know this may have upset you, but please be upset about the loophole in the system causing this mess. I'm a mama bear. I'm not here just to protect my family. I'm here to protect all the families, all your children, grandchildren, properties, safety. Please take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Morning.
Gary Rennie. I live at 7231 194th Street, Tinley Park, Will County, Illinois. I'm going to ratchet back a little bit. What everybody's saying here is how the community feels. I have letters here that back that up, but I'm only going to read one. And that is from Mayor Ed Zabrocki of Tinley Park. Dear Gaming Board, on behalf of the Village of Tinley Park Village Board, I am writing this letter in support of an amendment to the current truck stop gaming license requirements of the Illinois Gaming Board. Relax, Gary. We request an amendment to be made to the license requirements by adding a truck stop with gaming license be required to be more than 500 feet from a single-family dwelling. The reason we're asking for this change to the Illinois gaming licensing regulation is because of potential gaming on a site near a single-family residential neighborhood in the Village of Tinley Park at 194th and Harlem on a property that is unincorporated but directly adjacent to village boundaries. The village has met with the residents of the adjacent subdivision who are upset with the development. The village has attempted to work with Will County to make revisions to the development to soften the impact of the project. However, despite our appeals to the county, the permits have been issued with minor changes. The village's next step in support of the residents adjacent to this truck stop is to limit the impact to their neighborhood by limiting opportunities for gaming on the site. Note that this is a semi-fueling facility and is less than 200 feet from residential property. Please consider adding this amendment to the truck stop license requirements. Thank you for your support and consideration. Should you have any additional questions or require additional information, please feel free to call Edward J. Zabrocki, Village President. Thank you for taking the time to hear our voices. And once again, we must emphasize to you, our elected officials, that our residents need to take this leadership role in making our residential areas a safe and healthy environment for all residents to enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is it Sandra? Okay, Sandra Rennie. Thank you. Next up will be Michael Galata. Yeah, okay. You want to come down? Go ahead, Sandra.
Good morning, Will County members. I'm Sandra Rennie, Sandy Rennie. I will also reside in the last block in Tinley, which is part of unincorporated Will. And thank you for taking the time to hear our comments this morning and concerns. I'm here today on behalf of all our neighborhood community residents of unincorporated Will to inform you that we have come together as one in full support of a moratorium on issuing future gaming licenses in our county until such a time that regulations and restrictions can be implemented for the protection of all citizens. Yes, as you can see, we are very passionate about trying to stop video gambling until those regulations can be provided to protect all of us as taxpayers of the state. The key word here is regulation. In our quest to be proactive, a few weeks ago, we initiated a petition on moveon.org online, and we currently have over 100 signatures from residents in our area who are opposing gaming in future gas stations, truck stops, or commercial establishments that are less than 500 feet from a single-dwelling residential neighborhood. Our petition also states that while we are not opposed to gaming overall, although right now I'm just telling you the truth, I'm changing my mind about this statement, but it is in our petition. We realize that gaming can be a needed source, revenue rather, but we do, however, believe that there exists a need to regulate where and how it could be allowed. First, you must understand that our respective communities represent a cross-section of America. Our residents are made up of young families with small children, teens, and retirees such as me. So please consider the following. If a business owner were to get a gaming license for a future convenience store, and the store is approximately 4 blocks from our Lincoln Way North High School, we would then ask all of you, how or who will regulate the customers who would use those gaming machines? We all know that gaming casinos are in a controlled environment. However, that does not translate to a gas station. There's no security and there's no ID check in a gas station. Therefore, who would monitor teenagers who are tech savvy, unlike me, and may be enticed to play games at a convenience store? Also, as a former high school teacher, a grandmother of a 7-year-old grandson who loves video games on the computer, I can see firsthand how addicting this can be for our youth. Historically, as reported in the Daily Herald article of 2013 entitled "New Gambling Machines Bypass Casino Safeguards," in 2012, our state had 61 operating machines at a loss of $90,000 a month to gamblers. Less than a year later, there were 8,830 machines, and gamblers lost $25.5 million, which is far more than the $17.1 million in gross revenue generated in July from casinos. And with the absence of self-exclusion lists, addiction counselors see as an issue. Further, as the number of machines grow, the draw starts creating more and more addicts. Also in 2013, then Governor Quinn approved a program where up to 5 machines can be installed anywhere in Illinois with a liquor license, from restaurants to bars to truck stop, and the list goes on. And here in Will County, gas stations can have video gaming without liquor licenses. Originally, we began this venture regarding our neighborhood concerns, as you've heard. However, we have now found that this is a far greater issue than we initially anticipated, as business owners are now manipulating the original intent of the Video Gaming Act for the sole purposes of establishing mini casinos, if you will. So instead of helping existing business owners, the mini casinos have now become the primary source of income for new businesses. We also therefore recognize that this is now a statewide issue. Please do not think that this issue may not affect your own personal district, as we've heard many personal stories from gaming addicts everywhere who have lost their jobs and homes due to gaming addiction. Also, the gas station owner I spoke about earlier was quoted in the Southtown Joliet Herald on March 2015 saying he has 6 stations and 2 of them have video gaming, and 2 of his customers came up to the Will County board members and the executive board and said, well, that it's a nice gathering place. That's a quote, nice gathering place. Really? Do we want this next station to be a destination for gambling? What about all the safety issues that will face residential, neighbors? As stated also by my husband, we had a strong letter of support from our mayor, which he's already read to you. Lastly, one of our neighbors recently wrote a comment on our petition website, as she said, "This is a quiet family residential community that currently enjoys a feeling of safety. The advent of gaming on our block would destroy that sense of security." Thank you for taking the time to hear our voices, as we know that lobby groups and big money are out there to help stop these kinds of efforts. But we ask that you remember the families and the children of all communities, as we need your help. The key here The key word here, once again, ladies and gentlemen, is regulation. As our residents need you to take leadership role in making our county and residential areas a safe and healthy environment for all residents to enjoy. So please opt out of future gambling in Will County, and until such a time that those greater safeguards can be developed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Michael? Next up will be Charlelle Harrington, I believe it is. Oh, Charlotte, I'm sorry, Harrington. Well, okay, Michael, go ahead, Michael.
I'd like to thank the Will County Board for the opportunity to speak today. On behalf of both the Illinois Gaming Machine Operators Association and myself as a longtime resident of unincorporated Will at 23250 Hidden Lake Trail in Crete. The bill as it is worded right now, I believe is a step too far and completely unnecessary. As was suggested by your legal counsel the last time I was here, there are many ways that the board can control the further expansion of video gaming within unincorporated Will County without eliminating it for future businesses. Throughout the state, local municipalities are using zoning and the board's ability to control to whom, where, and what businesses receive liquor licenses. For this to happen, the Will County Board needs only to cap the number of licenses and to make it incumbent upon the liquor license applicants to bring to the board a business plan that would be desirable. Through the use of zoning and the liquor license control, I believe that many of the issues that have been brought up earlier today will be able to be controlled by the board. Just as a quick kind of response for the industry itself, as far as crime, there, as quoted in the newspaper about 2 weeks ago, the head of the Illinois Gaming Board, Mark Ostrowski, said that not a single reported robbery of people inside of a video gaming location in 2.5 years. And that's because of the safeguards that are built into the law as to how money is transferred and things like that. There's also, as was discussed about unintended locations, I believe that that would be corrected by zoning changes and liquor license control by the board. All of that could be done without getting rid of all future possibilities. As far as training for locations to spot gamblers and underage people, our association is a founding member of the Illinois Alliance on Problem Gambling, and our association has created an add-on to the state's Bassett training, which all liquor servers, or many liquor servers throughout the state, take, that allows them to spot problem gambling and problem drinking. So to conclude, on more of a personal level, I believe that my experience, my family's experience, is one that's extremely relevant to this situation. My father, who lives in unincorporated Will County, has pursued a golf course in unincorporated Will County for a couple of years. Since that time, that business has gone out of business. The family has lost the business, and the owners have gone bankrupt. Given its geographic proximity to Indiana, video gaming would not only add to the project's ability to become profitable, but it would also create an additional entertainment option for that business in order to draw more customers. It would also provide a nice opportunity for the county to benefit from non-Illinois residents coming in and doing business in the county. These are the kinds of things that, given the way that the bill is written today, even though it doesn't fall into any category that seems to be unfit, as described by many of the people speaking here today, or questionable, it's not a cafe or anything like that, it even still, under this proposal, would not be possible. And a real investment into this struggling business that frankly is owned by a bank right now is unlikely moving forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michael. Next up after Charlotte is Kathy Gilroy. Kathy Gilroy. Go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Charlotta Harrington.
Charlotta.
Thank you very much. As a small business owner and working mother of 5, I would like to feel that state and local ordinances would be in place to protect the safety of my home and family. Video gambling basically changes the tide of how businesses are utilized and how they're perceived. This gas station that's 2 doors down from my house will no longer just be a quick stop, get your gas, maybe your loaf of bread, and go. It will actually become a destination for people to sit and gamble. And cars will be parked there, semi-trucks will be parked there, they'll be looking to sit and gamble. And I don't mind semi-drivers because I'm married to one, but they idle their trucks. It's what happens. You don't stop a diesel truck and turn it off for even half an hour. You leave it going because that's how they work better. So my only beef with this, well, it's not my only beef, but my current beef is the destination aspect. I don't think a gas station needs to be a destination. I'd like to thank the county because so far you've gone to bat for us on a lot of items, and I hope that in the interim, while regulations are being put in place, the prohibition is enacted. It's not a forever thing. It's just until everything gels and gets together. Thank you.
Thank you. After Kathy is, I think it's Melinda. Melinda, okay. Litchfield. Go ahead, Kathy.
Good morning. Kathy Gilroy, 230 West Division Street, Villa Park. I actually spoke to this board several years ago when you were first considering whether to pass an ordinance or not against or for having video gambling in your county. From the committee meeting, I understand that there are 27 licenses issued in the unincorporated county right now. I would like to urge you to pass the proposed amendment to your video gaming chapter 121. Enough is enough. A previous speaker mentioned having a cap. I consider the 27 licenses that you have now enough. That's a cap. There was also a mention about crime, and the speaker following me is going to speak further to that. But the crime doesn't take place at the location. The crime is embezzlements, it's thefts, it's forgeries, it's happening other places to provide the money to gamble. And it's been talked continuously, we're talking about video gaming. We're talking about slot machines here. These are the same slot machines that are in casinos, yet they don't have the protections that are in casinos. The 24-hour police presence, the self-exclusion program, those things don't apply. The parking lot patrols, there's children left in cars all the time while parents gamble. Who's patrolling the parking lot? I heard someone mention, what are they talking about, a truck stop? Well, there's a proposal for a gas station. There's a new truck stop proposal where they could have 24-hour slot machines there at a truck stop. That's allowed by the Video Gaming Act. So I would like to urge you to pass the amendment that is before you to prohibit within the geographical boundaries of unincorporated Will County video gaming terminals. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Lynn McHenry. No, after you. The next speaker. Yeah, Melinda, you're up.
Thank you.
After you is Lynn McHenry.
Thank you very much.
and thank you for letting me speak to you today. My name is Melinda Litchfield, and I live at 118 Whittington Course in St. Charles, Illinois, and I am the National Victims Advocate for a 501c3 organization called Stop Predatory Gambling out of Washington, D.C. I first spoke to you a few weeks ago on behalf of a group of very concerned citizens and your constituents as you consider the option of allowing into unincorporated Will County a mini casino surrounded by a truck stop. I know many of you heard what I had to say a few weeks ago, but some of you have not. Therefore, I will not regurgitate my testimony word for word, but I will summarize it a few points. Again, briefly, I am a registered nurse, and I literally saved lives for a living. I worked for 30 years in the intensive care unit in an emergency room at a hospital, 30 years. But I could not save my own from the very crippling effects of a gambling addiction, which I developed over the course of about 6 months, primarily on slot machines, the exact kind of video gaming slot machines that you are considering allowing into this area. I went from a very successful, esteemed, respected professional to an irresponsible criminal. And my life and the quality of my family's life was profoundly and permanently affected by this crippling and decimating addiction. And again, it is by the sheer grace of God that I'm standing here before you, because as I also previously pointed out, this addiction has the distinction of having the highest rate of suicide of any addiction. A senator whom I was meeting with a while back, I walked into his office and he made the remark, he said, "You don't look like a gambling addict." And you know, it was the best thing he could have said to me, because I said, "What does one look like?" It looks like me. And it looks like everyone else that's a gambling addict. Your neighbors, they don't look like degenerate homeless people on street corners. They are your neighbors, they are your friends, they are your coworkers, they are your spiritual leaders, and your family. 2 weeks ago, I also highlighted the obvious. The casino industry pitches this in a way that is as simple as it is deceptive. They sell it as an economic panacea, that cash cow at the end of a rainbow, with a few maybe pesky unintended consequences affecting a very few, and I also told you that could not be farthest from the truth. You need to be fully aware of those unintended consequences, so they are intended consequences when they will inevitably happen. That is the exploitation of the most vulnerable, as they pointed out before, cannibalization of local businesses, increase in bankruptcy and crime. And by the way, the proponents do have their ballyhoo about no crime at the video gaming places. I just learned of this, which by the way talks about 57 burglaries at these gaming places, so that is not a true statement. And as the person before me also just said, this crime happens away from the places. It happens in the places of business and the homes. Loss of jobs, family disintegration, often sadly displayed by child neglect or endangerment. And guaranteed, all of this will happen. It is not a matter of if, it is when. It is very much a if you even don't play, you pay scenario. Another analogy that I said a few weeks ago is that, imagine this. If I walked into a bar, any of us walked into a bar, and we had 8 drinks, we would become impaired, and somebody would cut us off, because we might go out there and hurt someone, we might hurt ourselves, God forbid, we might kill someone. So let me ask you again, when the very impaired young mother is drunk on slot machines, or our cherished senior citizen has been sitting at that slot machines for 5 hours, because that will happen, and needs to go home, who's going to be the equivalent of that bartender in a largely unattended facility such as a truck stop? Who will cut that impaired person off who has simply played the slot machine the way it is designed to be played, the way I played it, and become addicted and beyond? And again, the simple answer to that question is nobody. However, since I spoke to you last, something very important happened which should weigh heavily on your decision. That is, on Friday, April 3rd, Governor Rauner, without warning, suspended every penny of funding to all the agencies around the state of Illinois who provide treatments to gambling addiction addicts, gambling addicted people. All funding was cut off. Every penny was suspended. No further state money available. So imagine, if you will, you, the government, any government, partners with tobacco companies, then promotes cigarette smoking. Then they have no funds available to treat those who inevitably develop lung cancer. It seems crazy, doesn't it? But it will. It's exactly it, and there is no difference. I mean, I'm just here to tell you, this addiction is not a hiccup or a kerfuffle in one's otherwise sane and normal existence. It is decimating and life-altering. And then in the thralls of this addiction, one sleeps and breathes when they can place the next bet and burn anything in their path to make that happen. Total enmeshment. It invades and destroys anything meaningful in one's life. GA, Gamblers Anonymous, which is a wonderful fellowship, and I attribute it to my sobriety, really my life, does not cut it for a lot of people, especially in the beginning. And in this county, there aren't even very many chapters available, which means there aren't very many meetings available. I checked. They're very few and far between in this area. And keep in mind, there's no more funding. They deserve your protection, and that will no longer be available. There is only yet one safety net still in place, and that is you, the people that will vote to continue this ban. How many times have you heard a lawmaker declare if it just saves one life when considering policy reform? That same righteous mantra should apply here as you consider overturning the ban. It will save not only one life, but the potential of ruining hundreds of others by not overturning this ban. You cannot, with prudence, have it both ways. You cannot recklessly proliferate gambling, yet cut off all resources to treat those who will inevitably ruin their lives. I will also repeat what I said 2 weeks ago. This is not who we are. A decent, civilized government does not build nor repair itself on the heels of creating personal debt, anguish, and misery. Will County has a very long history of protecting its people, not putting them deliberately into harm's way. The families and children of this community deserve that protection and are not expendable. Thank you.
Thank you. Then our last speaker, oh no. Yes, our last speaker, yeah, I think it's Michelle. Is it Michelle?
Okay.
Decline at this time? Okay, thank you very much. Len, you're up.
Good morning, Chairman,
Good morning.
board members. I'm Len McHenry. I'm building a gas and convenience store on Harlem Avenue there. It appears that everything in video gaming in Will County was pretty quiet till I decided to build over there. Video gaming, the laws and the operation has been around for five plus years. But it's just recent that seems that everything comes up about this site. But not to beat that up too much, just a couple points I'd like to make. I have a couple locations with video gaming. People seem to like it, customers like it. It's quiet, I don't see the problems. Couple big factors that I really like is, one is safety, because there's people around all the time. It just shows a presence of people and safety, and we do watch the operation, and it does bring money in, and that helps. Kind of going back to the safety part of it, we employ more people, we pay our people better. I don't make cost-cutting ideas because there is money for that, and I think we have a couple nice operations with it. I just don't see the problem that that some people make it out to be. Did a little research on it. Looks like there's about 1,300 municipalities and about 5,000 locations that have video gaming. And I don't think anybody that's opted in, somebody get confused, opt in, opt out, that allows it, any of the cities have opted out. I haven't heard of that. And with 5,000 locations, if there's so many problems, how come it seems that we don't hear about that? I'd like to make one comment on the letter from Tinley Park. I don't quite get that. They have 28 licenses. We border on Tinley Park. Is it something that maybe they don't want another location there? They allow, some of those video poker businesses either are in the same building as residents or border next to them. But we hear that shouldn't be allowed. So some of the stuff becomes a little frustrating. But I guess I kind of look at it as, in your districts, if you're having problems, then you should probably vote out of it. If it's not, and it's just all about this, then I don't know why you would vote out of it if it's not seem to be a problem today. So thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you, Lynn. That's all the public comments. You didn't sign up for it.
Yes, I did.
Your
Public comment.
at the public comment part of the meeting.
Well, I thought those were public comments.
Well, they were site specific. Are you going to get up and talk about gaming?
What was that, Mr. Walsh?
Are you going to speak precisely and only about gaming?
I would speak very abruptly. I would take 1 minute because I hear all these pleas, and I'm going to come to the fact. Get rid of the satanic promoter. Get the leader. The followers will fall apart, and we know who it is.
Armella, if you want to speak about this gaming issue, you can come forward.
This is important.
Come forward.
Like the SWAT team and the Navy SEALs.
Armella,
Get the idiot.
please.
The walking monster.
Please come forward.
All right. And all he's doing is calling us fools.
Armella, please come forward.
Ugly. I know I said enough coming down, but why are we being attacked? You know why? This Will County and Cook County have fighters, and we'll put him in his place. We gotta start here, and I know, and all you know, who the smart aleck is. Giving orders, threatening your job, threatening your children, holding them captive. Call Jesus. He'll guide you and do it. Get rid of him, like the Navy SEALs, right between the eyes. Or I'll do it. He'll come and kill me, Jesus. Smart aleck. Jesus doesn't kill, but I will. I've had it. They got nothing. They don't need a child.
Armella, you had your time.
Well, we gotta get rid of them.
Armella, thank you.
I'll get a hitman.
Hey, watch. Armella. Okay, that's the, if there was anyone else who wished to speak on gaming, that did not sign up, if you wish to speak, if you want to come forward. Anyone else? Anyone else? Mr. Musis?
Thank you. You know, I'd like to make a couple of quick comments, and I'm not going to try to go too long here. You know, I oppose video gambling in neighborhoods, and that's exactly what this is. You know, when this was first introduced, I opposed it. I oppose it now. But it was brought forward to us in the sense that this would be only in basically bars or certainly age-restricted establishments. We decided as a board to wait until we seen the rules. We felt, the board felt, I think, if the rules were sufficient, had sufficient protections, then maybe it wasn't going to be so bad. There could be nothing further from that. They basically, the state of Illinois wrote rules that basically says you can have this anywhere, basically. And, I would, I would ask this board to vote no for a number of reasons. One, there's a total lack of control and oversight in unincorporated Will County. Who's overseeing this? I'm not aware of any county agency doing it, nor do we have the responsibility. I don't think it's the responsibility of the liquor commissioner. I don't think it's necessarily the responsibility of the sheriff's department. And that doesn't mean if they don't see an obvious violation that they wouldn't take action. But there's really not many rules or oversight. I happen to represent a district that has a disproportionate amount of liquor licenses, county liquor licenses. I come from a township that practically has 55,000 population, and about 17,000, 18,000 of that is unincorporated. So I come from a district that probably has, in the unincorporated area, really is like a large municipality, and only relies on the county and representation from people like myself to speak for them. This overwhelmingly, I believe, is opposed by the residents. Now, I don't know who you all represent, who you think you represent, and I don't want to be condescending here, but sometimes I can't help myself, I guess. But it seems to me if you were really representing the people, you would flat out, straight out say, this is a bad idea, and we shouldn't allow it. If you want to represent other interests, I don't represent industry, I don't represent business people, I don't represent the government, I represent the people and what's in their best interest. So, based on that, and because it's not good for the people, I would ask you to vote no. Vote yes to eliminate it, but vote no against video gambling. Now, I know that most of you probably already have your minds made up. And everybody speaking here, I don't want to say it was a waste of your time, certainly you expressed it, but this is going to come down certain lines. I understand that, But I would ask you to really take into consideration what was said here today. Really look at how people are affected. And if government wants to try to operate on the backs of people who are addicted to gambling or anything else, what's that make us? The only ones who benefit from this, even these small business folks that get up there and they think, wow, isn't this nice? The only ones who really benefit are the big gambling interest who could give a hoot about Will County or the people who live here. They only care about money, just the money. I don't care about money. I've had it and I haven't had it. Life goes on. But I will not victimize or be part of victimizing people's weaknesses to put it in a businessman pocket or put it into the government coffers. So please, let's not let this go any further. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor.
I can't echo my colleagues' sentiments more, but one thing that when these folks got up here and spoke, and we have all heard the debate that it's going to hurt small business. We got to allow businesses to be able to do the kind of things that they need to do in order to make money. When I hear that it takes $1 million of someone's losses for us to get $50,000 in revenue, and I don't know how accurate that is, but it's got to be pretty darn close. Yeah, and so when you take a look at those dollars, $1 million going to a game versus cars, bedrooms, furniture, food, other industries that this $1 million could affect a lot more down the road versus just a group that made the gambling machines. And those machines are a lot of other places. These folks aren't losing money. And my communities, Naperville, Bolingbrook, and even Plainfield opted out from the beginning. So these citizens have already talked, and so when you come in and say, what's the impact? Well, we've seen the impact. The regulations took a year to write. We kind of sat back on our haunches and didn't do anything at that point. And now we've seen the problems that have gone on, and it's affected not only people around us, but people that are close to us. And so I'm going to be voting yes for this and want to see that we curtail any further growth of this in our county. It's already here. Businesses that are already established, anybody that wanted to get this done that was already doing this on the side has already taken place. That's taken place. So I'm going to be a yes vote for oil.
Mr. Brooks?
I think Mr. Howard before me, and then I'll go after him.
Mr. Howard, if then.
I just have okay?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay, I just have a couple comments on this. Actually, in District 1, the district that I represent out there, we actually have the racetrack out there, Balmoral Racetrack. And basically, that's an industry, that's a business. And there's houses, I think, right adjacent to it. There's subdivisions right adjacent to it. There's also bar restaurants adjacent to it that actually have gaming machines, that type of thing there. And that comes down to looking at a personal choice, I believe. You know, as far as it's someone's choice whether they drive past the racetrack or they actually stop in the racetrack. I've been there a couple times or whatever, but and just a real quick story, when I was a kid, I actually lost $40 at a carnival, and I'm still mad about that $40 that I lost. So I'm really not, you know, a individual that I think the gaming industry would rely on as far as providing any kind of revenue. But the point that I'm trying to make is that basically there's communities built around the gaming industry, literally. There's businesses built around the gaming industries. When you get to the racetrack, for instance, you have the agricultural community around that area, whether it's a horse farm that boards horses. You also have equipment dealers that sell hay equipment. There's a hay market out there for them. I mean, it actually feeds itself. Now, the other problem that we have in District 1 over there, we have to compete with Indiana too. And I know Governor Ronner has mentioned the Route 1 corridor as far as developing down that corridor. So, I mean, we got to be careful what we actually do, because basically there's a vast migration of people from Illinois to Indiana on a daily level that actually pass through our area. And if it was a gas station and there's a machine in there, I don't see any problem with an Indiana resident actually making a contribution to the state of Illinois at this point in problem, you know, or at this point in time to help alleviate our problems. So, you know, and again, you have to be careful here, because it's personal choice. It's an individual's rights and freedoms to choose what they so to do. I actually buy a $100 pair of shoes maximum. I don't buy a $1,000 pair of shoes. That's my choice. If I can't afford it, I don't do it, you know, basically. And also, too, I like a Shamrock Shake from McDonald's, but my doctor told me that's not really a good thing for you, and I have to agree with him. But I don't count on the government to tell McDonald's that they need to build these things far enough away from me that I can't actually walk to a McDonald's and get a Shamrock Shake. So, I mean, you know, that's the truth of the matter. So I think that's something that, you know, we need to look at. And I believe the majority of the speakers here this morning, I respect each and every one of them, but the message was clear. They're against all gaming, all gambling, you know, and in the meantime, are they going to knock on the church door that does a Las Vegas night now? I mean, that's where we're at this point in time. So we have to be very, very careful about that, and we cannot tread upon an individual's freedom at this point in time, I believe. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Brooks?
In retrospect, next time I will go before Bob Howard. I just simply like to say, my district, behind District 2 is the second largest with liquor license, et cetera. And normally when it comes to those things, Mr. Executive, I do have some moral issues attached. So I told my caucus on this morning that I would be abstaining. However, I just want all of you all to know that I have changed my mind and I will not be supporting this resolution and I will be voting a yes. Thank you very much.
Ms. Trainier?
A yes means,
Call the question.
Okay.
and for clarification, a yes means a no. Okay, yes means no.
Okay.
Yes means no future. No, correct. Correct. You're
Madam-
voting yes. Correct.
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mayor,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Howard. What kind of,
The motion is to pass the resolution
prohibiting?
prohibiting. So,
Okay, if you vote yes, you prohibit.
yeah,
Correct.
I'm voting no.
okay.
Ogala? Yes. Moran? Rice? No. Harris?
Yes.
Trainier? No. Benefield?
Yes.
Fritz? Yes. Freitag? Yes. Gould?
No.
Balich?
Yes.
Winfrey? Parker? Yes. Babbage?
No.
Wilhelmie? Hart?
Yes.
Tominello?
Yes.
Weigel?
Yes.
Collins? No. Ferry?
No.
Mustis?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thirteen affirmative, 9 negative.
13 affirmative, the motion has carried. Mr. Mustis?
15103, directing the Public Building Commission to fund additional engineering services for HR Green, Inc. for sewer and water utilities to Laraway Road. I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Mr. Mayor. Any questions? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mayor?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Howard?
Mr. Howard? Yes.
Ogala? Yes. Moran? Rice? Harris? Trainier? Benefield?
Yes.
Fritz? Freitag? Gould? Balich? Parker? Babbage? Wilhelmie? Hart? Tominello? Weigel? Collins? Ferry? And Mustis?
Yes.
Thank you.
22 affirmative.
22 affirmative, motion is carried. Mr. Mustis?
Next, 15104, authorizing the county executive to sign a letter of intent to participate in the DePage River feasibility study. I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Mr. Mayor. Any questions? Previous roll call by Mr. Gould, second by Ms. Parker. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried.
Authorizing, I'm sorry. Okay. 15105, authorizing participation in the U.S. Census Bureau's Consolidated GIS Boundary Annexation Survey Program. I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Mr. Mayor. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Babbage, second by Mr. Harris. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried.
Next, we have Resolution 15106. I'm going to make a motion to remove this from the agenda. This does require a public hearing, which we have not held yet. So I will make a motion to remove 15106, an ordinance amending the administrative towing fee.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Mr. Mayor. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Ferry, second by Ms. Trainier. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried.
Now, we will be holding a public hearing on this. We probably will not be able to hold it until the actual day of the county board meeting next month, so we'll probably do the public hearing there. If you have any additional, pardon?
We were able to publish in time. It is for your May 7th, your first executive committee.
Okay,
meeting.
that's great, because
Yes.
I don't like to have public hearings the same days. So that's great. So we'll have the public hearing on the first Thursday of May. So thanks for that information, Alyssa. Resolution 15107, authorizing the execution of one stop operator agreement for workforce investment services, and I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mister, second by Mr. Mayor. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Howard, second by Ms. Rice. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion is on.
Next, resolution 15108, authorizing a professional service contract with Joan Wisniewski for the work-ready community outreach and job profiling. I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mister, second by Mr. Mayor. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Gould, second by Ms. Collins. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried.
Resolution 15109, authorizing renewal of the wrap-around professional liability insurance for the health center. I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mister, second by Mr. Mayor. Any questions? Previous roll by Ms. Rice, second by Ms. Trainier. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion carried.
Next, we have Resolution 15110, South Suburban Airport Policy Review. I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mister, second by Mr. Howard. Any discussion, any questions?
Previous roll.
Ms. Ogala?
Thank you, Mr. Executive. I wanted to just make a couple comments here that I appreciate the support that I've gotten so far to bring this resolution to a vote. My constituents have for a long time been under the pressure of eminent domain to lose their property. And at this point in time, with the new administration and with Governor Rauner by executive order, putting all those projects on hold, I think it's only right and prudent that we support the private property rights of the constituents of County Board District 1 who live within the proposed airport footprint. I would appreciate all of you giving a consideration to support this resolution, because it's not just supporting my constituents, it's actually just supporting everybody who owns private property in the state of Illinois and here in America, that a governmental entity should not seek the power of condemnation prior to having a project, prior to having the approvals necessary for that project to continue, and prior to any funding source. Since this is under review, it makes the most sense to say that Will County is standing up as one and saying that we do not want IDOT to use that condemnation to take further property until a decision has been made by the governor whether to move forward or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Howard?
I would also like to speak in support of this resolution, and I would also like to go further on this too, that we continue to put closure to those property owners out there that are actually in between or in the middle of actually completing their transaction. I know there's people out there with 2 mortgages at this point in time, and I think we need to move forward on that and actually complete that. And I'd also like to urge that maybe we need to look at our county board actually putting pressure on the new governor to actually make a decision on this, because I feel sometimes that we're caught in that movie, or I'm a character in that, the Groundhog Day, where every day that no matter what happens at the end of the day, whether it's progress or regression on an issue, we wake up the next morning and we're right back to where we started. So I mean, it's a continuum out here, and I think that's unfair to the residents out there, and nobody should be held hostage at this point in time. So I think the governor needs to step up at this point in time and make the decision. I mean, you know, there's 47 years of study on this thing, and in 4 months, I think the decision could easily be made. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Moran?
I'd just like to agree with my Commissioner Howard that the governor really should make a decision. The legislature passed an order, they passed a law, and the governor should make a decision and make up their mind what they're going to do one way or the other. What I would like to say, though, is I wish that this resolution said that there would be no new eminent domain cases implemented or requesting that of the state. We really don't have any say in it. We're asking the state to not do these eminent domain cases. The state's not going to withdraw, as I understand it from the state's attorney's office, they're not going to withdraw an eminent domain case because they cannot reinitialize it after they withdraw it. Once they bring it, if they don't follow it to fruition, then they can't ever bring it up again. And if they decide to build an airport later on, they won't be able to go back after these properties. So I don't think they're gonna do that. If we had asked them to suspend any future eminent domain cases, starting any new eminent domain cases, I think that this thing, as it goes up the food chain to the state as a request, maybe would be looked on a little bit more favorably. I just think at this point, they're just gonna ignore it because they can't stop the cases they've already started.
It's just a fluff. I don't know if that's a great idea.
I think if we'd like to do that, I would,
Suzanne.
if we changed it so that it said future cases, and if we added something in there about asking the governor to make a final decision sooner than later, then I would support the resolution. But the way it's written right now, I can't. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Mr. Glasgow, would you like to make a comment on
Yes, if we withdraw a pending condemnation case, then we will bind all future generations in a way that it may, 10 years from now, may be a different landscape. We could have a bustling economy and a need for a third airport, who knows? We, obviously, you know, Judy has been sensitive to it because there's nothing been really in stone, and yet they've been out there displacing people. And it's been an arduous situation. I got sued for $300,000 for sticking my nose into it on a trespass by Hanson Engineering. And thankfully, the lawsuit was dismissed with a summary judgment. But there were some nefarious tactics being done against the landowners out there. But you know, we shouldn't. I think Governor Rauner has made it clear he's going to try to clear up the debt in Springfield before he does any projects. You know, I think that tells us very clearly that this airport is not going to happen in the near future. And so with that in mind, these people should be left alone to live out their lives in the American way. So what he's suggesting about the future, I think, is a good idea. But we can't, in good conscience, as caretakers in our jobs, dismiss a pending lawsuit that would then bar that airport from ever being. We can't do that. But we can do everything we can to treat the people fairly that are out there now, and I think that's a good idea, Don.
any other discussion? Mr. Okvala?
Yes, I did discuss the situation regarding the current cases that are in court. And so if we put a stay on those cases, which it would not move forward until a decision is made, that is what a moratorium might be. Currently, IDOT is not issuing any new condemnation cases at this point in time. So a moratorium on those is not actually needed because of the fact that they are not moving forward with any new condemnation cases. So the cases are those that exist in the court system today, and a moratorium would put a stay on those cases. I also have spoken with an eminent domain attorney on this, and his opinion was that the cases that are currently in the court system, as long as there is no decision made on those cases, that condemnation case could be brought forward again. So I guess that's kind of that was his opinion to me. So I'm not quite sure, you know, what our state's attorney his opinion is. Obviously said that, but I'm not sure why there's a difference of opinion on that.
Well, I'd be glad to issue a formal opinion for you with case law citations. I think that may be the best way to do it. I don't want, you know, the opinion of I'm not saying that your lawyer isn't a credible lawyer, but lawyers always disagree.
Right.
And so,
That's why there's lawyers.
if everybody would feel better with that, we can do that relatively quickly and get you a legal opinion that'll clearly lay out what we were discussing.
Ms. Okvala?
Yes. So as far as this resolution is asking for a moratorium on the acquisition of land via condemnation today. Moratorium putting a stay on the current existing cases in the court system. The stay would cause them to just be frozen until the record of decision could be heard. So not a record decision until the governor's office has made a decision. And the governor's only been in office for a very short time. This project has been going on for 3 decades, and I think we need to provide relief to these families. And I think it's absolutely wrong to take, to anyone sit here and take property from a family who's had their family farm for 100 years, and we do not know that there would actually be an airport. I think that's something that's fair, and I hope that you guys will support this resolution with a yes vote.
Mr. Moran?
It's been going on for 3 decades. I'd asked that we send this back to committee so that we could get the opinion from the state's attorney's office, and then hopefully I would be able to support it when it comes up next month.
Move that on
And
motion.
just quickly, so everybody understands, none of us can tell a judge down the street what to do. So if you guys pass them, it's just a please. It's not binding on anyone. And so.
It's a request.
Just so you know that.
Mr. Moran, you made a motion. You made a motion to send back to committee. Mr. Babbage seconds that motion. Madam Clerk, call the roll. Question from Mr. Babbage.
It's going to go back to committee, if that's going to happen. We should change the language to reflect the idea that in order to go ahead with eminent domain, the public-private partnership has to be determined first. Because if the governor says we're going to go ahead and build the airport, but we may never find a public-private partnership, and these people be held hostage once again. So I think we need to talk about that.
We play no role in the public-private partnership.
Right, but if we're gonna say something based
Okay,
on.
you can say whatever you want. I don't care. I mean, but.
I'm just throwing it out.
Well, that's why Mr. Moran probably wants it back in committee, that there's more issues that you might want to put together in a resolution. Okay? Steve? Okay. I agree. I'm agreeing with you, you know. Again.
Uh-oh.
Mr. Tumanello?
So just for clarification, a no vote on this would allow us to vote yes if we wanted to vote yes today?
Yes.
And a yes vote would then send it back for next month?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yes vote on this motion, sends this resolution back to committee.
And there'll
Thank
be
you.
no second vote.
Thank you.
Mr. Mustis?
Yeah, I would prefer not to send it back. This is just a request or a proposal or saying that, you know, our position is that to hold everything until you really decide if you're going to move forward. I don't know what would be accomplished by sending it back. I will take the state's attorney's opinion that this would be the position they would be in if they withdrew it. Whether the courts are willing and the state's willing to put it off to the side and delay it for a period of time, you know, I don't know. We go to eminent domain. People go to eminent domain for a number of reasons, and it's not just the taking of the property. Very often it is willing sellers, but they can't agree on the value, so they'll go to eminent domain to help, and the judge will help determine that value. And I don't know the particulars of these cases, but this is really just it's, you know, it's kind of like that non-binding referendum type of thing. You know, here's what we'd like you to consider, but you don't have to do it. And so since it's just a kind of a position paper type thing, saying that we would prefer no eminent domain to go forward until we decide where we're going, I don't know what we accomplished by sending it back.
Jim's correct on that. I mean, if you want to pass this, it's a feel-good, non-binding resolution. So you can't do that.
If it goes back, it gives you the opportunity to issue your legal
But it-
opinion.
Right, but it won't change anything. I mean, you know,
Okay.
the law's still
Mr.
going to be the
Howard?
same.
Mr. Howard?
I believe that there's property owners that wanted to utilize this in court April 30th, so I think if we send it back, we're gonna, you know.
Well, and that's a good point, Bob, because,
take
you
that
know,
away
you could,
from 'em,
you
and
could
I don't
tell the
wanna do
judge
that,
that
so-
this is what the community feels. And like, anytime you ask to continue something or put something down the road, if you have a valid reason that the judge can consider, it will play into his decision whether to continue the case.
And if a property owner wanted to continue to go forward, maybe we can put something in to say if both parties are willing to go to eminent domain, they could go forward. Okay, but certainly I think there's nothing binding here. And I do think the property owner can get in front of a judge and say, I want this to go forward. And I don't look for the state's attorney's opinion to change, because the state's attorney's opinion is an opinion I've heard in the past, and I can tell you that at the Forest Reserve, they withdrew many years ago some properties, and they could never go back and go to eminent domain on those properties, and some are really now kind of infills. But
Well, we got a motion and a second on the floor. Call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Mayor?
No.
Brooks?
Just to send it back to committee.
Send it back to committee.
Yes.
Howard? No. Ogala? No. Moran?
Yes.
Rice? No. Harris?
No.
Trainier? Yes. Benefield?
No.
Fritz? No. Freitag? No. Gould? No. Balich?
No.
Parker? No. Babbage? Wilhelmie? Hart?
No.
Timonello?
No.
Weigel?
No.
Collins? Barry?
Yes.
Mustis?
No, Randy, no.
Which one, Mr. Eustace?
No.
No. I got you.
I'm
as
sorry,
no.
I'm trying to multitask here. No, I don't want to send it back.
I have a
No.
yes.
5 affirmative, 16 negative.
5 affirmative, 16 negative. The motion has failed. Now we have a motion on, any more discussion? Yes, you're right. Mr. Mustis, we have a couple of individuals that had signed up to speak on, I think this, if you wanted to move to suspend the rules.
I will make a motion to suspend the rules to allow speakers.
Second by Mr. Mayor, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. We have two individuals that have signed up. Anthony Raison.
Greetings. I appreciate your attention in these serious matters. By that I mean the twin menaces to our communities, the Peatone Airport and the Ileana Tollway, both to be financed by Illinois taxpayers, overseen by an obviously corrupt IDOT, for the profit of a foreign consortium, and if it doesn't profit, we have to make up the difference. Absurd on the face of it. Don't let these international sharks prey on our weak financial state. I brought a good friend of mine, Bill Wachowski, today. He's one of the menace landowners in the Peatone Airport footprint. Do put that moratorium on, and soon. We are under siege from this. The only politicians who had the guts to visit with us have been Glenn Pichard, who got the governorship stolen by the corrupt George Ryan, and Al Salvi, who ran for U.S. Senate. So the whole process is pitifully rigged. If you were there with IDOT and NDOT and their dog and pony shows in Lowell and Peatone to satisfy their community outreach requirements, you'd be full of disgust too. These are politically driven bad ideas that have no statute of limitations. We've been fighting the Peatone Airport for decades. If it was really needed, the airlines would be in the forefront by clamoring for it. They rail against it. These important decisions need to involve the industry involved and the residents and citizens who pay the freight. We are certainly not against fixing transportation problems, such as bottlenecks in Will County. We've even proposed logical road building improvements on our very petition against the Ileana. 394 turns into a 2-lane rural road and goes right through Beecher. That's a problem. Peatone-Wilmington Road is 2-lane and goes for close to 20 miles. Maybe make it 4 lanes. Routes 10 and 24 go east and west, south of the Ileana, so maybe they could be enlarged if an east-west route is so desperately needed. But this is a political deal. It's supposed to relieve traffic in the Chicagoland megalopolis. This, no single road could possibly do. Many improvements need to be taken, as does a whole new direction in transportation thinking. High-speed rail is long overdue. These two money pits will suck up all the money, not work, and deprive all the other much more desperately needed improvements from happening. We have a wonderful county, and that's because the people who live here have made it so. Do you realize what a horrific neighbor a major airport and diesel fuel truck tollway would do to the quality of life? It would destroy it, that's what. Cancer rates and asthma for children would skyrocket. Remember Al Knack, who wrestled with this board for control of Peatone? They were made up of Jesse Jr.'s main aide and the mayors from around O'Hare. They were desperate to blunt O'Hare expansion by cynically pushing Peatone as this great economic bonanza. They didn't want us to hear about the ear-splitting constant jet noise, the disgusting droppings from planes, the pollution and congestion. Now they're suffering once anew. We should be grateful that we were spared such a fate. That's not what this Verdon area was meant for. Crops are. The last major new airport that is in actual use is Denver International. But that was only because they forced the closing of Stapleton Airport, which was there Midway. Do we really expect Peatone to take off without closing Midway? I guess Gary just sits there perfectly good and watches. You can't cut everybody off, yet continue this bad pair of projects. If that does happen, it'll be obvious. You'll have pitted the 1% against the 99%. It'll be the corrupt state government against its own farmers. Take sides, folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. William Wazkowski.
Good afternoon, board members, all of you. I've seen you at different meetings that we went through and everything. My name is Bill Wachowski. My wife's name is Mary Wachowski. We've been married for 40-some years. I've been an operating engineer for 41 years. I got my button on. So this is a really turmoil for me. This is our work out here. But for 30 years I've lived there, 30 years of turmoil. I retired as an operator. In 1969, I was in the Navy. I was working construction in Vietnam. 1969, okay? 1982, I bought my place in Peatone. That's 10 years later. Guess what? You know, a lot of us that returned from Vietnam, we didn't come home. We were here, but we didn't come home. November of 1982, we had a fire out in our backyard. You know, a little bonfire or whatever. And, you know, you're by your fire, you're with your friends, it's a beautiful place. I finally came home. Finally. You know, that load is lifted off you. My family was there, everybody was there. And, you know, everybody talks about, getting off the subject a little bit, $1 million and you guys get 50,000. This is billions. This is what we're fighting here. We're the little guys. I mean, France, everybody looks at this place. I've been interviewed by more people. I've been interviewed by the news, Channel 7, 32, everybody. This is my house. This is where I live. This is what I got to deal with. And if there's any way we can either get a yes or a no on this whole thing. You know, get it over and done with, make it. Mr. Bolt built his airport in 2 years. It was done. You know, no problem. This is like having a shot or having an injection and the needle never comes out. Never. Just Tuesday of last week, I get a letter in the mail, and here it is. We're condemning your land to put in a water main, a 2-foot water main in my front yard, okay? They want 66 feet from the middle of the road over. I lose one of my buildings. I'm only 7 feet off the road. Here's a 2-foot water main coming in. These are the things that these residents had to put up with all these 30 years, up and down this whole area. We lost our neighborhood. If there's any way, how can I say it? I'm ready to retire. I'm ready to go to a warmer climate. Guess who I've got to sell to? If they will take it. They say, and they're real obstinate. I mean, they're just people that just, they're not country life. When they come out there to try to maintain their properties, they come out with little lawnmowers that are usually sitting upside down when they go up a high hill or whatever. Like if they're in a subdivision, we're in the country. We are the grassroots. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Very nice comments.
I brought this, I'm sorry, I know it's a long day. I just brought some paperwork, because I think it's important. You gotta have proof on everything. This was my job as an operating engineer. I worked downtown. You know, after running a tower crane all day, maybe 12 hours or whatever, it was nice to get on the four-wheeler, drive back on my 21 acres, and I have nothing for almost 2 miles around me. 2 miles of nothing, after hearing the city lights and everything. I got one more. It doesn't really matter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, guys.
Okay. Back to you, Mr. Mustis.
Okay. Well, we have a did we
got
have
a motion and a second?
We have a motion.
Second, Madam Clerk, motion is second on Resolution 15-110. Call the roll.
Mayor?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Howard? Yes. Gala?
Yes.
Moran?
No.
Rice? Yes. Harris?
Yes.
Trinier? No. Benefield?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Freitag? Yes. Gould?
Yes.
Balich?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Babbage?
No.
Hart?
Yes.
Tumanello?
Yes.
Weigel?
Yes.
Collins?
Yes.
Ferry?
No.
And Eustace?
Yes.
Thank you.
Affirmative, 4 negative.
17 affirmative, 4 negative, motion has carried.
Next, we'll have Resolution 15-111, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the Village of New Lenox for a one-day household hazardous waste collection event for fall 2015. I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Mr. Tumanello. Any questions? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mayor?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Gala?
Yes.
Moran?
Yes.
Rice?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Trinier?
Yes.
Benefield?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Freitag? Gould?
Yes.
Balich?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Babbage? Hart?
Yes.
Tumanello?
Yes.
Weigel?
Yes.
Collins? Yes. Ferry?
Yes.
And Eustace?
Yes.
Thank you.
Affirmative.
21 affirmative, motion has carried.
Next, we have Resolution 112, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with New Lenox Township for a one-day household hazardous waste collection event for the fall of 2015, and I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Mr. Balich. Any question? Previous roll call by Mr. Babbage, second by Mr. Harris. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried.
Resolution 15113, awarding bid for mobile learning unit for the workforce services, and I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Ms. Rice. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Gould, second by Ms. Parker. All in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary, motion is carried.
Resolution 15114, confirming emergency purchase for the installation of a refrigerant monitor sensor, and I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Mr. Moran. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Ferry. All in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary, motion is carried.
Next, we have Resolution 15115, amendment to the Will County Program Year 2014 Action Plan for the reallocation of home program funds for the program year beginning October 1st, 2014, and I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Mr. Brooks. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Ballage. Question, Ms. Fritz? Second by Ms. Fritz. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried.
Resolution 15116, authorizing a joint agreement with Joliet for the administration of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Home Investment Partnership Grant Program, and I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Mr. Ferry. Any question? Previous roll by Ms. Parker, second by Ms. Rice. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried.
Resolution 15117, authorizing the Home Investment Partnership Program Consortium Agreement, and I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Mr. Howard. Any question? Previous roll by Mr. Babbage, second by Mr. Gould. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried.
Resolution 15118, authorizing amendment to the lease agreement of the Land Use Department for the Executive Center, and I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Mr. Moran. Any questions? Previous roll by Ms. Hart, second by Ms. Trenier. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried.
Resolution 15119, authorizing an amendment to the lease agreement to the Public Defender's Office at the Executive Center, and I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Ms. Freitag. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Gould, second by Ms. Collins. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried.
Resolution 15120, replacement hires for the ICT Department, I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Mr. Brooks. Any questions? Previous roll by Mr. Ferry, second by Mr. Howard. All in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary, motion has carried.
Resolution 15121, replacement hires for Sunny Hill Nursing Home, I will move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Ms. Ogala. Any question? Previous roll by Ms. Collins, second by Mr. Ballage. All in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary, motion has carried.
Our next committee meeting will be May 7th, 2015. And now I will make a motion to approve the appointments by the county executive.
Moved by Mr. Mustis, second by Mr. Brooks. Any question? Previous roll by Mr. Ferry, second by Mr. Harris. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion has carried. Show, Ms. Stain. Thank you, Don. Next on, we are on public comment.
Had plenty of that today.
Under public comment, we have people lined up to speak. Laura Adama? Laura? What is it?
I think a lot of them were for those cases.
Okay.
actually.
We have Joyce Craig. Joyce Craig, please come down.
Hello, everyone. I'll try to keep my comments real brief since I don't want to take up any more of anyone's time. My name is Joyce Craig. I had the privilege of serving as an election judge, I'm a Catholic, at the Precinct 29, and I would like to take just a moment to thank Nancy Schultz-Voots for allowing me to serve as an election judge. I feel the level of professionalism during this past election was just wonderful. The persons that responded, we had so many people coming to the polls, or at least where I was at. We had, well, I don't know if it's proper for me to say how many people voted, but we had 120 at the precinct where we were. I feel that the level of professionalism and I noticed there was no display of suspicion, as in the case of persons, that everything was 100%. I appreciate this because it afforded me the opportunity as an American woman to take a stand for America. I want to, of course, always build my platform as an American woman on the United States of America. I'm a Republican. Such an opportunity to show our love and our loyalty for the United States of America. This is just a small expression that a person can do to show that they put the United States of America first as their natural. And freedom is a wonderful thing, but if a person's natural takes the stand for the United States of America, then our country will always be a strong union. And I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. Very nice. Next, we have, I believe it's Erica Dots. Erica?
Erica Dot, is she rolling those gambling places?
It's Erica Dot.
Dot,
So pretty
okay.
close. So good afternoon. Thank you all for passing your resolution today, calling for a moratorium on all condemnation case files in the Will County court system against the landowners in the proposed Peatone Airport footprint. Thank you very much for that. Number of you have already heard from me this month, so I'm not trying to take up more of your time. But I am going to put in your mailboxes these green folders, and just running through a little bit of what's in them. So we have a Cranes article that came out a couple of weeks ago. The article revealed that IDOT's secret study on the Ileana Tollway, they did the secret study on the Ileana Tollway. The $112,500 study was not initially presented to the public, and that should be a little disturbing to us all. The IDOT claims that this report was only given verbally, so we don't actually have a physical copy of this. What we do know is that the Ileana does not qualify for a TIFIA loan, and thus confirms what we've known all along, that the Ileana is not financially viable. In the news this week is our coalition's letter to the Federal Highway Administration requesting that they rescind their record of decision on the Ileana Tollway. Our standing is based not only on this crucial change in course regarding the financing, but also the Forest Service has since clarified its comments about the negative impacts it will have on the Madera National Tallgrass Prairie. There'll be two other things that I think will draw your attention to. If you guys hadn't heard, we did deliver 13,000 petition signatures to Governor Rauner. Majority of those signatures were coming from those in Will County area. So we have an article about that. Back in October, we also did a parade. It was a harvest parade to protect rural heritage. And many people came out to that event, and it was a great thing that you guys may never have seen happen. So I wanted to draw your attention to some of the things that have been going on locally around this. I also have provided you guys the 4 latest editorials that have come out against the Ileana Tollway. Thus far, there's been 20-plus editorial boards that have come out against the Ileana Tollway. So hopefully you guys will have some happy reading. I tried to keep it concise for you guys on some of the more important things going on right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, comments by the Legislative Republican Caucus Chair, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Executive. Blackhawks win. Double overtime. Right after a 3-0, they were down. They worked really hard. And you know what this reminds me of? Reminds me of today's activities. Because a lot of people turned off the TV yesterday before the game was over. And sometimes you have to go into overtime in order to get things done. And now that it's 25 minutes after 12, I want to thank my colleagues for going into overtime so that we could get the work of the people done today. So I want to wish everybody a happy spring, and we will see you in May.
Thank you. Next up, the Democratic Caucus, Mr. Brooks.
Good morning, afternoon, Mr. Executive and everyone. Let me begin by always the two resolutions that was recognized today, the Heritage Cordage and the Speller Bee Champs. Congratulations to them. I just love it when our county recognizes the talent that we have among us. So thank you so much for those. On a sad note, many of you all know our buzzman, can't say that too many times, Attorney Mike Hansen's son passed away, Kevin, and I know I saw many of you all doing a visitation yesterday, but just a reminder, keep Mike Hansen and his family in your prayers. But then on a happier note, we can all pop champagne on this one, is today is the birthday of my colleague across the aisle here, Chuck Mayer birthday. Okay, and he'll take the champagne. And having said that, thank you all. We've had a very spirited conversation on today, and that's what the overtime is for, but I think it's good for us all. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Thank you. And County Board Speaker, Mr. Mustis.
I'm going to keep my comments real brief. You know, today we've seen a lot of people come in front of us and participate. I know our meeting ran a little bit longer, but I would settle for participation by the public and expressing their views and their opinions, and I'd stay here all day. I love the fact that people do participate. Wish they would come sometimes when they just always just don't have an issue, but it is nice to see people participate. It makes our lives in many ways a little easier. So, having said that, once again, I want to thank the board for all your hard work for the entire month. Thanks for the different views. Thanks for the opinion. Thanks for once in a while giving me a kick in the head. I appreciate it all. So, thank you very much. I appreciate you all. Mr. Executive, have a great day.
Thank you, Mr.
And go
Mr.
White Sox.
Mr. Executive, if I may,
Thank you.
one more comment.
Mr. Mayor.
And folks might not understand that the spelling bee champion did not come up here today, and that was because I believe they're in Washington, D.C. trying to win the Nationals. And so if they do come out successful in the Nationals, we'll have a double celebration when they come back.
Great news, great news. With that, we will stand at recess until Thursday, May 21st at 9:30 a.m.